When we're talking about Ben Roethlisberger, obviously that's not going to be the focus of this show. Welcome to another exciting episode of Upon Further Review. I am your host, Mike Kilroy. I'm flanked here on my left by this schlub, John Henry. And on my right by Derek Pida, who's in mourning because of the Ben Roethlisberger injury. He's a big Steelers fan. And
Mason Rudolph.
But he has faith in Mason Rudolph, and so do I, so we'll see what happens there.
I'd like the definition of the word schlub, please.
Okay, everyone. Last week we had a definition of slobberknocker. Now we need a definition of schlub. So
I don't even know how do you spell the word schlub. I don't know how you spell that
there's
word.
several spellings, but
Okay.
we'll leave it there. As always, we're sponsored by Colin Tarker, Troy Allen, Chevrolet, Buick GMC, Butler Health Systems, and Penn United Technologies. Well, another week in the books. Guys, some more eye-popping scores and outcomes. Start with you, Derek. What are your impressions, comments, and thoughts on the action from last week?
Seneca Valley's defense pulled a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. First half they gave up 36 yards, and they were leading 14-0 at halftime. Second half they gave up 233 yards, and ended up losing the game 26-20. That's a big loss.
That was a huge loss.
That's a conference loss. The playoffs are still there for the taking, but their goal has to be to get the best seed possible, and that loss, I think, is going to come back to haunt them. Even if it just comes down to that seeding, they might have to end up playing a road game in the first round of the playoffs. If that's the case, Mars losing by 7 points against Penn Hills at Penn Hills, and they commit 6 turnovers. I know Penn Hills lost a lot of top talent from last year, but they're still the defending Whitfield and state champions. And you lose to them by 7 points at their place, and you commit 6 turnovers. You know Scott Heinauer's going to be kicking himself, and I know the players have to realize how big of a loss that is. And finally, I got we talked numerous times on the show about the lack of a running game for Union AC Valley, and Kyler Culbertson goes out last week and rushes for 150 yards.
150 big ones for him.
You put a rushing attack in with Luke Bowser, who's able to throw the ball. Union AC could have they can be dangerous down the stretch here.
John, your impressions of this past wild week?
Well, Derek stole a little bit of my thunder there, but I would agree.
Thunder.
So I would agree with
here.
The sudden emergence of Kyler Culbertson out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. I mean, to rush for $150 against Otto Eldred last week. Now maybe Otto Eldred's run defense isn't all that staunch. We don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds for the Falcon Knights running game. But that was definitely a big surprise for me. Another one was a slip rock getting shut out up at Sharon. I mean, they moved the ball clearly. I think they had 300 yards of offense and didn't score a point. That surprised me also. And in terms of Mars' turnovers, I kind of they had a turnover issue, if you recall, when they played Moon and lost to Moon too. They had turnover. Maybe that's going to be a problem for them this year. But I credit Penn Hill's defense as at least partly for those takeaways too. Yeah. With every turnover on offense is a takeaway on defense. So
yes, it is.
You have to look at that as well. And I would agree with Derek. Seneca Valley, they really did pull a Jekyll and Hyde act. I mean, they up 14-0 in the first half and end up fall apart like that in the second half. Now, granted, it was on the road against a strong opponent, but that surprised me as well.
Yeah, did Mount Lebo make any adjustments at halftime to come out different, or was it just one of those things where Mount Lebanon maybe just executed better and caught Seneca Valley in a couple of plays, and then it's kind of seamless?
There were some missed tackles. The 79-yard touchdown pass from their quarterback Joey Daniels to Evan Jones. I mean, it was a long completion to midfield, but a Seneca kid, I don't know who the defender was, had a kid wrapped up right at the 50-yard line. He broke a tackle and raised 79 yards for a touchdown. Mount Lebanon did look like a different team in the second half. It was like a tale of two halves on both sides. Seneca Valley played a really good first half. Offensively, they were running the ball. Defensively, they were shutting Lebo down. In the second half, it was just somebody flipped the switch and everything changed. So we'll see if Seneca Valley can get back on track this week.
I have two big impressions. Again, Mars concerns me. 1 week, you can kind of chalk that up. Okay, bad week. The second time this happens to them, you have to be a little bit concerned. And Scott Heinauer, I'm sure, has got to be a little bit concerned because, like I said, 1 week might be an aberration. 2 weeks, that's sort of a trend. You don't want it to trend that way for Mars. And
they
also,
might have quarterback issues there at Mars.
They might
have a quarterback issue.
I'm still reserving judgment on that until we get a couple more games in, because obviously their offense is Teddy Ruffner left, Teddy Ruffner right, Teddy Ruffner up the middle, which is a pretty good playing if you have a guy like Teddy Ruffin. Another one of my impressions is I was at the KARNS City Montauk game, just how banged up both teams were. It looked like a MASH unit on both sidelines. I mean, there was more crutches, I think, than people on the sidelines. Both teams. And they both played hard.
Oh yeah. And you're probably going to go there, so I'm going to join there. Kudos to Montauk.
Yes,
Montauk. I think they had 16 healthy players, you said, and they were leading at halftime, whatever. And I really thought KARNS City would win that game handily. I give Montauk a lot of credit for hanging as tough as they did.
KARNS City had 21 yards in the first half.
Yeah. Yep.
They got things together in the second half. They made some adjustments. And I think Montauk, Coach Rotman said, and both Coach Rotman and Joe Sherwin said this wasn't the case, but to my eyes, it looked like Montauk wore down. It looked like KARNS City wore Montauk down a little bit in the second half. They were missing tackles. There was more holes opening up. So that's our impressions from last week. Let's turn to our first topic, and we're kind of going back to the injury bug that's happening, not just to Montauk, KARNS City, it's happening to a lot of teams. And teams that already have low numbers to begin with are now getting hammered with these injuries, which is a concern. Guys, I'm just wondering, with the dwindling numbers, injuries piling up, just the violence of the game, what's the future hold for some of these high school football programs? Are we going to see more consolidations like what happened in Clarion with Clarion Limestone, which had a good program, but their numbers were dwindling? Union AC Valley, they merged together, which is working out pretty well for them. Are we going to see more of this? And are we going to see maybe something radical like 7-on-7 or 8-on-8 football? John, what do you think? Do you think this is just an aberration this year with the injuries and the low roster size, or do you think this is a trend that might develop into something a little bit more radical like 7-on-7, 8-on-8?
Well, the rosters are definitely smaller now than they were, say, 10, 15 years ago. But I don't know if I call it a trend just yet. The roster may level off at this point. And I think in a case like, the school I cover most of the time, Butler High School, yeah, their numbers are way down this year, but they have a big sophomore class and a big freshman class behind them. And they've got a promising sophomore quarterback that's gonna spark a little more interest in the program. I think it's gonna keep some of these younger players with it a little bit longer. So I think Butler's numbers will probably spike back up over the next one or 2 years anyway. Yeah. And as far as like consolidations around Butler County, you're right. Union AC Valley's worked out perfectly. I don't know if I see another potential consolidation in the county though, in our immediate area. Maybe some other areas, maybe. But Butler County, I'm not seeing any because I don't see KARNS City and Montauk ever consolidating. No. I just don't think that'll happen.
I was thinking more like smaller communities outside of Butler County, maybe.
You may see that. You
go to Montauk or going to KARNS City.
Derek's mentioned this in past shows. I mean, it's all over District 9. You see consolidation happen everywhere out there. And I think you might even see a couple in District 10 in a couple of years. As far as the 7-on-7, I don't see it happening around Ohio, Pennsylvania so much. I know they just started a 7-on-7 thing in Philadelphia, but it's more of a springtime thing to kind of keep teams in shape. I didn't realize this, so I did a little research on 7-on-7. The NCAA is against the 7-on-7 thing.
Yes, they are.
So much to the point where coaches are not allowed to scout 7-on-7 games. They're not allowed to go. I mean, it's an NCAA violation. So they're not happy about it.
See, I don't agree with that. I mean, football's football. I mean, you're basically shutting these kids out.
Well, it's not really
for nothing that they did themselves.
See, there's two versions of 7-on-7 too. There's a tackle version, which isn't.
This is what I was thinking.
Yeah, but the tackle version of 7-on-7 is not real prevalent around the country. What has become very popular is the springtime version of 7-on-7, which is no lineman and no tackling. It's almost like a touch football type thing. Yeah. But it's great for the skill. But it's great for the skill players.
Yeah. Basically a passing camp.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's gonna ever get to the point where it replaces football as we see it today.
Derek, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Well, we mentioned before, we talked about before how over the next decade or so, I really think you're going to see a lot of the smaller schools looking to consolidate. But here's something I thought of, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this.
Okay.
Let's say you have two 6A schools right next to each other, and I'm not talking Butler Seneca, I'm talking anywhere. Two 6A schools right next to each other. The enrollments are big, but the football roster is low on both. Let's say you have 35 kids out for both teams. Do you see a possibility where you could have two 6A schools with big enrollments but small rosters combining their football programs so they can compete with other schools in their league, like in North Allegheny that has like 86 players on their roster. I mean, or would schools literally have to get down into the 20s before they thought consolidate? In this case, it would be consolidating simply to compete against the teams that have the bigger rosters. Two 6A schools, big enrollments but small rosters. Could you see those schools combined?
That would have to be a rare. That sounds like a very extreme
Right.
situation for both schools, not just one.
Maybe if both schools are really struggling on the field and they've only got 35 kids dressing, maybe that would be a case
Yeah,
where
I don't see
they
that.
could combine.
I don't see that happening per se, because I don't think two schools of that size would have that similar problem and be close enough.
My view is,
But it's an intriguing possibility.
my view is that as long as a school of any size is capable of fielding their own football team, they're going to do it. I mean, and you even look at some of these smaller schools. They consolidate literally because they almost have to, because the numbers got so bad. Yeah, they just couldn't field a team. Yeah, and Clarion Limestone up in Clarion, the same thing. I mean, the numbers got so small, they just couldn't do it anymore. So that's why I see that.
All right, let's move on to our second topic. Who is your midseason MVP, guys? The non-Teddy Ruffner, Matt Goodland division, because obviously
So you
those
can't
two
choose
guys
either one of
can't
those two
choose either
guys.
one of those
Can't choose either one of
guys.
those
So
two.
obviously those two guys are not only MVPs of their respective teams, they're probably the top candidates for MVP in the whole county and the whole WPIAL, probably, as far as what they mean to their team. So John, who is your non-Teddy Ruffner, Matt Goodland MVP at the mid-season-ish? It's kind of mid-season-ish point of the season.
I go with Zach Rocco, quarterback at
Really?
West Catholic. Yeah, I really don't think they would have quite well. Definitely wouldn't have quite the team they have now. But I think he makes a major impact. And if they were to lose Zach Rocco, you'd see a totally different football team. So that's my choice.
Derek, who's your mid-season-ish MVP, excluding Ruffner and Goodland?
Talk about stealing my thunder. I mean,
Uh-oh.
You see Rocco too. Wow.
I'm trying to come up with a number two guy here. Mike, Zach Rocco's my pick, but I mean, from what I hear from you, the numbers I see in the paper, Vito Pelosi's having a pretty good year.
Yeah. Well, Sipperock kind of has three candidates. You could say. Often overlooked for Sipperock is David Duffalo, not just what he does on offense, what he does on defense. He gets double-digit tackles every game. He had 18 a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's a rock in the middle of that defense. So you have three kind of candidates there at Sipperock, but I'm going to go with really kind of outside the box. Luke Bowser. From the UACL.
I actually thought of him.
Look at the season they're putting together.
Yep.
Where would they be without him? His ability to run, his ability to pass. He sets everything up on offense. He runs the show there. He gets everyone involved. You look at the receiving numbers. They have a couple guys with well into the double digits. He hasn't really had a running game until last week, so he's had to do a lot, and they're sitting with a pretty good record.
3-1.
3-1, and they have some momentum built, and I would go with him. I think what he's done there has been phenomenal. So
Go Falcon Knights.
yeah, Night Falcons are just what it should be.
That's not a bad choice, but Vito Pelosi does step
Yeah, Vito Pelosi.
He's a versatile player too.
Like I said, there's three guys.
I consider him as well.
Does he play on
Nathan
defense?
Hyatt
Does
also.
Pelosi?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yeah,
I consider him as well.
really, all three of those guys could
Mhm.
do it as well. So now let's go to our fun segment, over-unders. We always have fun with this. It's sticking with the non-Teddy Ruffner, Matt Goodland division topic here. We'll go with how many running numbers have been down this year other than Ruffner and Goodland. So I thought this would be a good one. Number of 1,000-yard rushers, excluding Ruffner and Goodland, because they're obviously going to get it. I put it at 2.5 because if you look at our stats, there's a huge drop-off once you get past Ruffner and Goodland. We'll just go with Derek this time. What's your over/under? What do you think over/under on this topic?
Are we talking regular season only here?
I just said season. It could be playoffs.
Okay.
Anything.
Well, I do think both these teams are going to make the playoffs. So I think, right now they're just on the outside. I don't know if they're quite on pace to average or to get to 1,000 yards, but Nathan Hyatt and Kaminsky from Karns City, Hyatt from Slippery Rock and Kaminsky from Karns City, the quarterback. I could see those two getting there, but the number here is 2.5. So if those two get there, that's under. I go under.
John, you go over/under.
Under as well, I think Derek explained it perfectly. Hyatt's got a shot at it. Kaminsky's got a shot at it, though I think more of an outside shot, because I think eventually Quincy is going to go away from him and they're going to go back to their kind of multiple running game type thing with numerous players. I think it's going to hurt the Quincy quarterback down the stretch. But yeah, I thought this was regular season. If you're including playoffs, those two guys will probably get there simply because they're both probably going to have playoff games. Yeah. But I agree with Derek. I don't see anyone else on the horizon in the county who's going to go over 1,000, so I'll go under.
I'm going over.
Going over?
I think those two guys.
Who else?
And don't forget about the North Catholic running back.
Damon Straub.
Damon Straub. I mean, they're going to play some weaker opponents. I think he's going to go off a few times, and I still think they're going to make the playoffs. So they're going to get another game in.
That's true.
So I say at least 3. I can see a possible 4th out of some of these teams as the year wears on. We don't know. So all you just go off. Someone goes off like someone from KARNS City goes off, or I don't know if Kaminsky's even going to get there.
Yeah,
I don't know if
he's going to get there.
Sacks.
I don't know if he's going to get there.
The sacks are going to. You know, he got sacked quite a bit against Montauk. He still ended up with 60-some yards because he ran so much in the second half. So I'm going to go over. I'm going to go 3.
Let me ask you this: Would you go over? Would you go over if it was just regular season?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Because
so you're kind of in the playoffs.
I think they're going to KARNS City and Suburb are going to need that extra game to get one of those guys over. But I still think even Straub is going to get 1,000 this year. All right, let's move on to our second over/under. It's kind of a downer. I'm sealing the page.
This is kind of a downer. Yeah, well, you call me Debbie Downer. Look at this.
Yeah, I'm kind of going with a Debbie Downer over/under. We have 4 teams,
Holy
4
cow.
winless teams in the county: Butler, Montauk, Freeport, and Summit Academy. They're all winless for various reasons. So we're going to go combined wins by the end of the season for these 4 teams. 5.5 over/under, John.
Oh, over. No question over.
Over.
No question
Why?
over. Because I see Butler getting off the schneid this year. Butler will win at least 1 game.
Okay.
Montauk, I think we'll get into the picks later. I think they'll win this week, and I think they got 2 or 3 wins in them. Okay. And Freeport, as all 3 of us know, they've just gone through their usual
toughest part of the schedule.
Toughest part of the schedule early.
They're banged up.
They are banged up. But they've got a fairly weak schedule coming up. They're going to get a few wins. It'll be more than 5.5. So I'm going over.
Do you agree with John, Derek?
I agree with John in being over, but I'll say this. I'm not saying Butler or Summit's not going to win this year, but I'm saying that 5.5, Monotone and Freeport alone will combine for over 5.5.
Really?
I think both of them will get at least, combined 6 wins.
I don't know why I'm acting surprised because I'm going over too.
There you go.
Because I agree with you guys. Freeport's going to win a few games. They might win 4 by themselves. So you're only talking 2 more wins out of the other teams. I think
it's going to happen
easily.
It's going to happen.
That's why I set it a little low because I wanted to be positive when we talked about the over/under. So that's why I did that.
It's not too far off. I mean, if you'd put that at
6.5, I originally had
6.5 and 7.5, I might have gone under.
I originally had 6.5, but I wanted to be a little bit positive because I think you're right. I think potentially all 4 of these teams might steal a win, get a win. Some might steal a win. I don't know. I haven't looked at their schedule down the road, but they've been struggling. But they usually get better.
There are other teams. They played some tough teams early.
Oh yeah, they've gone through the ringer. I think all their opponents have either made the playoffs or were close.
Oh yeah.
So. All right, let's move on to our prediction segment. We have another big slate of games. First of all, Derek, I'm going to get a rundown on what we did and what Scoop did last week.
Well, we'll get the top guy out of the way. I went 8-2 last week. 8-2.
Tooting his own horn. Yeah?
John, Mike, and Scoop, you guys all went 6-4.
Ouch.
I see. I'm lagging behind everybody.
You're actually tied with Scoop though. You and Scoop are both 28-12 on the season.
Wow. Scoop, come on.
Boy, Scoop is struggling. He's he lost 14 all last year, right?
Yeah, 14 all
he's
last
already
year.
got 12. So he's got to get it.
He's got to go on an incredible run.
Well, let's see how we all do this week. This week. Let's start with our first game. It's the traveling trophy game. The trophy hasn't traveled a whole lot lately.
No.
What's it going to travel this year? We've got Butler at Seneca. Is the trophy going to travel back to Butler this year, John?
Trophy stays where it is. I think, like I said, I still, even though these last 2 games, Butler got whacked pretty good. Pine Richland is Pine Richland. No, I mean, they actually moved the ball against Pine Richland. They gave up some wacky touchdowns. wacky touchdowns in
Yeah,
that
they
game.
did.
Like block punt for a score, a pooch punt they returned for a touchdown. They had a pick six in that game. But overall, I still like Butler's offense and what they're doing. I mean, they're much better offensively than they've been in recent years. So Butler, I think they'll punch a couple in against Seneca, but Seneca's offense will wear them down. I picked the Raiders 35-14.
Well, you've seen Seneca a lot this year, Derek. You know, we kind of already talked about a little bit their Jekyll and Hyde effort last week. Do you think they get a little bit healthier against Butler, especially really on both sides of the ball, because they've struggled a little bit on both sides here lately?
Yeah, I think they get back on track this week. I think Gabe Lawson, his season's been up and down like Seneca's a team. I think they get him rolling this week. Last week, 65 yards passing, 2 interceptions for him. I've covered 3 games this year, and all 3 of them for Seneca, and all 3 of them were losses. So they probably don't want to see me coming down there, but I enjoy the pizza and wings at halftime.
You're the bad luck charm for them.
Yeah, Seneca Valley's won the Eagle Traveling Trophy 12 straight years. It's going to be 39-14 Raiders.
Yeah, I have Seneca Valley winning, but I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I think this is going to be a close game, actually, for a while. I think Butler's going to hang in there with Seneca. It's a rivalry game. I saw that last week with Montauk. You know, they were undermanned, and everyone thought Kern City was going to roll, and they were up 6-0 at halftime. It was 21-6. I'm not saying Butler's going to be leading at halftime, but I'm thinking they're going to be in this game. I see it like a 2-score game. I see it 28-14 Seneca. So let's move on to Knock at Ambridge this week, guys. Obviously, Matt Goodland is rolling. Knock is rolling. They're 4-0, I believe. Just chugging along. Derek, what's your prediction on this one?
They're rolling, and they're going to keep on
Yes,
rolling.
they are.
Ambridge football has been down for 4 or 5 years. And they've lost their first 3 games this year by a combined score of 136-14.
That's not good, is it?
No, Knock's not the type of team you want to see coming into your place when you're struggling like that with that offense, that triple option offense. I like Knock to win this game, and I like them to win big 49-6 over the Bridgers.
John does not get another shutout. You've had 2 this year.
I don't think they're going to shut up, but only because I think Ambridge will get one against the second team, which late. I picked Knock 45-7. Ambridge has 1 win since 2015. The program's a disaster right now. I mean,
What do you really think, John?
You hate to say that about a program, but
Yeah.
it is. Like Derek pointed out, they've been outscored 183-14 in these 4 losses this year. Like I said, 1 win since 2015, and they were outscored last year 415-44. They're just. I'm not saying it can't turn around for them at some point, but not now, and certainly not against this Knock team.
They need to build a bridge to success.
Yeah, I picked up 45-7 is my score, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah,
40,
the only thing that's going to stop Knock in this game at all is themselves. If they go out, you know, sometimes you see teams that go in against an overmatched.
Sure, especially high school kids.
Struggle a little bit early because
Sure.
they think they can just show up and do it. I don't know if Knock's going to do that. I have a feeling they're not. I have a feeling they're going to be ready to play, and they're licking their chops in this one. I see, like you guys do, a blowout. I'm going to go a little bit conservative, though. I'm going to go, well, maybe not too conservative, 35-0. I think they're going to shut them out.
Be the third shot.
Maybe third shutout.
Yeah, one thing with high school kids in a game like this, sometimes the intensity is just not
Yeah,
there.
it's just not
it's
there.
just not there sometimes, and
Yeah.
that could be a factor.
That could be a factor.
but not enough for them to lose. So.
No. Now, moving on to another team that we talked about here today, Mars at Armstrong. Mars really needs this one, guys. They really need to kind of get
They
those
do.
turnovers out of their system. Yeah. Thanks, Derek. So we'll serve you, Derek. You cover Mars a lot. You talk to Scott Heinauer a lot. What's your gauge on this one?
Well, Armstrong is coming off a rare in-season bye, so that's a bit of a variable.
Yes,
If
it is weird.
If they had any kids that were, banged up the week before, maybe they get them healthy. But as far as the outcome of the game is concerned, I don't think it matters. I like Mars to get back on track this week. Armstrong, the 2 weeks prior to last week, they lost games to Hampton and Chartiers Valley by a combined score of 73-18. Mars plays this week. They play well. Well, of course they play. They play well. They don't turn the ball over, and they beat Armstrong 43-16.
So, John, what do you think?
Never bet against a Scott Honor coach team the week after a loss. Never do it. 35-14 loss.
I thought you didn't bet in high school football.
I don't, but that's why I said never do it. I said never bet.
Okay, I agree with you guys. Mars isn't going to have the troubles they had last week, another week in a row, and really Armstrong's a perfect opponent for them to get things settled down and get back on track. Mars wins. They win big, 38-12. We'll go 38-12. All right, moving on. Another team that desperately needs some momentum and something good to happen. Freeport, off to that 0-3 start, but they have Uniontown coming to town.
They do.
So, John, I have a feeling we all agree on this one. Freeport's finally going to get off the schneid.
Yeah, Freeport they're going to take out their frustration, unfortunately, on the Red Raiders of Uniontown. Uniontown's been blown out 4 straight games. That's another program. They've been down for a while. They've been struggling. And 0-10 the last 2 years, Uniontown's been. Freeport rolls in this game, 41-6.
Derek, so you're picking Uniontown? Since John picked Freeport?
You know, it's not often that I get to mention my alma mater. I'm going to mention them here. At the first game of the season, Uniontown played Connellsville. Connellsville put up 42 points on Uniontown. And Connellsville, thanks to my dad's reports every week, is absolutely horrible. They're horrible. And they put up 42 points on Uniontown.
What do you really think about Connellsville?
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
I should be more clear, Derek.
44-13 Freeport. They get their first win of the year.
I'm not even going to talk too much about this. You guys said it all. Freeport 51-6 over Uniontown. All right, moving on. This is a playoff rematch, and it was a very crazy playoff game that it was. Derek at North Catholic. Derek, North Catholic is just not playing like we thought North Catholic would be playing at this point in the season. So what do you? First of all, who do you think is going to win this game? And second of all, do you think North Catholic is going to be able to right the ship that's kind of been, being tossed around by the tide?
Well, I think with North Catholic, they're still a good football team. They lost a lot of talent from last year's team, a lot of seniors, and don't forget Nakai Hill Green, who's still in high school, but he's now in high school at a private school down in Maryland near Baltimore. That's a lot of production you have on both sides of the ball you have to replace. I do like North Catholic to win this game. It's at home at the Mars Athletic Complex. That's where they play their home games now. Derry's a good football team, but it's not the same team that beat North Catholic twice last year. They beat North Catholic twice last year.
That's right. They did beat them in the regular season as well.
I like North Catholic to get back to their winning ways this week. 28-14, but it won't be easy, but I have them winning by 2 scores.
John, what do you think about this one? They do have Derry coming in, and Derry's not the Derry that they were last year.
But they're still good, though.
They're still good.
Yeah. Slobberknocker.
First
Slobberknocker of the week.
The word comes back.
First Slobberknocker of the week. This will be a Slobberknocker.
Return to
I agree with Derek. North Catholic wins, but I'm picking a much closer game. A 1-point game, 14-13 North Catholic.
Yeah, I think this is going to be close too, but I think North Catholic finds a way to win this one because I think they have to. They have to win this one. If they lose this one, there's going to be some serious glass breaking over the panic button. So I think they win. I think, like John said, it's going to be Slobberknocker. It's going to be a close game. I say 24-21 North Catholic.
Will Kunzman with a game-winning field goal, possibly.
Possibly. Now we move on to another big game on the schedule. Brookville at KARNS City. KARNS City's been banged up. Joe Sherman told me they're expected to get a few of those guys back. Obviously, this is a big one on the schedule. This might be the battle for second place in the District 9 that conference they're in. Derek, what do you think is going to happen with this one? This is a coin flip, isn't it? This is going to be a tight one.
It is. I think it is going to be a tight one. I read the story from over the weekend, the Montauk KARNS City game you covered. With KARNS City being banged up, and I'm sure they might get some of those kids back, but Brookville's bringing a pretty high-powered passing attack to town, and if you're on the field, even if you're gutting it out and you're playing at maybe 80-85% injured, is not the way you want to go into this game. Facing a pretty strong Brookville team, and I like Brookville to come into KARNS City and come away with a 27-21 victory.
John, Brookville does have that tradition of passing attack. It sounds like they have it going again this year. Just because they have enough to stop them.
They do, but the big question at Brookville is who's going to be the quarterback. Jack Krug, their starting quarterback, went down against Clarion with an ankle injury last week. Left the game in the second quarter. I've already talked to the Brookville coach this week. I talked to him this morning.
On the ball.
I've already talked to him, and his quarterback is uncertain, his status for this week. Now, but here's the other thing with Brookville.
Which means he absolutely knows who's going to be the quarterback.
He may not tell. He may not know yet. It's only Monday.
It's only Monday. You're right. He might not know.
But anyway, Jack Krug, if he is down, Robert Keth, who's their leading receiver, helps step in at quarterback. He did the same thing last year. Krug went down with a broken collarbone, missed 5 weeks, and they didn't miss a beat with this Keth kid at quarterback. So may not affect Brookville too much if Krug's not playing. But I look for Karns City to come together and win at home. I picked Karns City to edge Brookville 21-14.
Oh man, you guys are putting me in a tough spot. I'm going to be the bad guy here. I'm picking Brookville. I just think Karns City is still going to be a little bit too banged up. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a very good game. I think Karns City is going to go toe-to-toe with Brookville no matter who the quarterback is. But I see Brookville winning 28-26. Sorry, Karns City.
28-26, that score is very familiar from yesterday.
I just have oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
I'm with you, Gremlins. I'm with you.
Sorry. I hope you guys prove me wrong. I do. Now moving on, Montauk, we talk about banged up teams. This team is really banged up, and they can't afford to be banged up. And it was something that didn't happen in the last year that's happened this year. Kind of everything, the law of averages evening out. They go to Bradford. Derek, do you think Montauk gets that elusive first win?
They're banged up and they're making a long road trip. Bradford's like 5 miles south of the New York line, but I think it's going to be a joyous bus ride home because I think Montauk is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it big. Bradford's really bad. For a banged-up Montauk team looking for their first win, this might be just what the doctor ordered. I'd like Montauk to win this game and win it big, 44-6.
Wow, 44-6. John, do you think Montauk is going to blow out Bradford?
I'm thinking along the same lines. Bradford is, like Derek said,
really bad.
they're bad. They scored 6 points all year. They've shut out the other 3 times. In that game, they scored 6 points and they lost 47-6. So this is not a good. This is not a good Bradford team. Montauk wins big, 34-6 is my pick.
Yeah, this reminds me of yesterday. Looking at ESPN.com, I was looking at the Patriots-Dolphins game. You know how they have the little predictor in the corner, predicting what the percentage the team has.
Oh, yes, yeah.
There's 18 seconds left in this game. It's 43-0 New England, and the prediction was 99.9% chance that the Patriots were going to win. What is this 0.1% chance that Miami had?
You know what? That just proves there's always a chance. That just proves it right there.
That's the chance I see Bradford winning this game, 0.1, because Montauk, they're going to get a few guys back too eventually. I think a couple are going to come back this week. Bradford is really bad. Montauk is really hungry. It's all going to add up to, I'm not going to say a 40 burger, but I think Montauk wins this one 30-6. I'll go with that. Now, the bandwagon's getting crowded on the Union AC Valley here. They're off to a 3-1 start. They're looking good. It looks like they found a little bit of running game, but they have ALLEGHENY County Catholic on the road.
They do.
John, do you think they keep rolling, or is this where they might hit a little bit of a snag?
Well, I paid a price last week for going out against Union. AC Valley, I picked Otter Eldridge won last week, and Union, AC Valley proved me wrong. They're going to have to prove me wrong a second straight week, and I think ALLEGHENY County Catholic has a little bit too much. I picked ECC to win 21. That's a 13. Should be a good game though.
Derek, do you think AC Valley keeps it rolling, or do you agree with John that they had a little bit of a road bump?
Jumping off the bandwagon for at least 1 week. ALLEGHENY County is, they've had stronger teams up there, but they're a pretty good team this year. They have a running back named Sam Call that just rushed for 216 yards last week against Port Allegheny. I think it's going to be a close game. I like the fact that Union AC Valley has found this running game with this Kyler Culbertson. Hopefully they can keep that going. I like the Crusaders to win this game 25-16.
4 words: Kyler Culbertson,
Uh-oh.
Luke Bowser.
Uh-oh.
Those two are going to lead Union AC Valley to a victory on the road at ALLEGHENY County Catholic. Close game. They're going to win. I'm going to say 22-20 Union AC Valley. All right. All right, another rivalry game. Slippery Rock at Grove City. They played 2 interesting games last year. I think,
They
John,
did.
you covered the playoff game.
I did,
between the two,
yeah.
where Slippery Rock had Grove City on the ropes a little
Mhm.
bit. This Grove City team's still good. Maybe not as good, but they were really good. So
Oh, yeah.
even a little bit of a drop off is
They
good.
were.
Slippery Rock's got to be a little bit miffed at getting shut up by Sharon. Even though they piled up some yardage, how do you see this one transpiring?
Slobber knocker number 3.
Slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker number 3. It follows Dairy North Catholic and Brookville, KARNS. This is third slobber knocker. But Grove City, I'll tell you what, I can give them credit up there because they lost. You know, Mike, they lost a lot from last year.
Yeah, they did.
And they've retooled things together, and they look very strong once again. I like Grove City at home. Like I said, slobber knocker. I'm picking Grove City 21-17.
You live pretty much in between the two communities. You kind of live up there.
That's
Have
right.
you been hearing any scuttlebutt on the street about this game there?
I have not heard any scuttlebutt, but I've
No
created
scuttlebutt
some.
from there. You
I
created some.
Well, you know, I do what I can up there, but
There aren't too many people living on Derrick Street up there.
they all moved out when I moved in.
There goes the neighborhood.
The one number that I'm focused on with this Grove City Slippery Rock matchup is the fact that Grove City's given up 27 points in their 4 games. So they're obviously bringing a really strong defense to the table, and I know Slippery Rock's defense is good too, which is why I'm picking a slobber knocker.
Another slobber knocker pick.
16
Slobber
to
knockers
10,
everywhere.
16 to 10, but I'm going with the home team, Grove City.
Yeah, Grove City has Slippery Rock's number lately. Sam Mowry, their coach, he just seems to have this program humming. He struggled the first couple years there, but once he got established what he wanted to do, and the kids started buying in, and something just clicked. And since then, they've been rolling. They just take out Callahan, you put in a Breeze, and he just picks up where Callahan left off. You take out any number of the running backs, you throw in another one, they take off. And their defense, I think, is going to be the difference in this. I got to go with Grove City. I think it is going to be a slobber knocker. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring than what you guys have predicted. I see Grove City winning 35-27.
I'll say this though for Slippery Rock in this matchup because they do have a real chance because their offense is capable of controlling the ball and working the clock.
And they're also capable of scoring.
Yep.
Quick-
They need to finish
get
drives
quick
that they didn't
splash
do last
plays.
week up to Sharon. They need to finish drives. If they can't control their clock and finish drives, they get a real shot, but I'm still picking a close game for Grove City.
And now we move on to Summit Academy at East Allegheny. Summit's struggling. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that, but they tend to get better as the year goes on. But again, another road game, another test for them. Derek, how do you see this one?
That conference, it's the Allegheny Conference. It's
Yeah.
a Class 2A conference in the Whitbill. It's basically the haves at the top and the have-nots at the bottom. And East Allegheny's actually coming off a loss to Apollo Ridge, but they're still in that upper tier, that
Yeah.
top 14 span of the conference standings that's going to make the playoffs, I believe. Summit Academy is, of course, at the bottom half of that. I do think they keep this game close. So I don't have this being a blowout. I think East Allegheny wins at home 31-16.
John, do you think Summit keeps this one close like Derek?
I think they play better, and Summit Academy, if you follow their history, just the nature of their program, they always have a new team every year, all first-year players. They always get better as the season goes on, and this opponent, East Allegheny, is not as powerful as these earlier teams that they had to play against. I do think Summit keeps it close. Still going to be winless, but I'm picking East Allegheny 26-8.
Yeah, Summit Academy has some good skill guys. They have a really good quarterback. He hasn't really been able to show anything too much yet to late. I think that this game they score earlier than in the fourth quarter. I think they score multiple times, so I still think East Allegheny wins. I'm going to say 36-18. East Allegheny wins. Now let's move on to another topic that we all love. Talk about something else other than football for a little bit. This week, let's talk about knock tennis. We talked about them on the show in the past. They're continued to excel on the tennis court. They have two really good singles players, Laura Greb and Brooke Bauer, and they actually played each other for a section title for the second straight year. Laura Greb gets the win. John,
Well,
let's talk
all right,
about knock
all right.
tennis. I think you're doing a story on them. So.
I am. I'm going up there Wednesday to do a little feature on the Knock tennis team. But do you realize, I just thought of this while we're sitting here, that Knock High School has 3 unbeaten fall teams right now. The football team, of course, the volleyball team, and this tennis team. And all 3 of those teams might be unbeaten for a while. I mean, the way that things are shaping up. But yeah, this Knock tennis program, the 3-time section champs, they just completed the section singles, and Laura Greb won that again. And I think for the 2nd straight year, had to beat one of her teammates to win it, Brooke Bauer. That's how strong this Knock tennis program has been. They've got I don't know if it's just this current crop of players going through it. Maybe it is because these kids were freshmen and sophomores when the streak of section titles began. So, but yeah, they are as dominant a team in their sport as we have in the fall this year, as far as the county goes.
What are your thoughts on Knock tennis?
Well, I mean, you got Laura Greb, 2 straight Whitfield titles entering this season. I believe she made the PIAA singles semifinals last year before losing out in Hershey. So a great job by her to win another section title. But, you know, for Brooke Bauer, you know, they always say that, you know, people remember the person or the team that wins. They don't remember the person. I guarantee you that's not the case, especially for Nancy Conlon, that coach down there at Knock. She appreciates Brooke Bauer's efforts, and if Brooke Bauer is playing pretty much anybody else in that section, she probably would have won.
Oh yeah, she would win a
Just
section.
Laura Greb is so strong, and then Brooke Bauer just to get there. Obviously, she's going to have another chance to come back in the Woodville tournament, which begins this week, I believe. So, good luck to both of the girls from Knock. I do, since we're talking about tennis, I also want to throw out this note about Mars tennis. They won the MAC title this past week.
They did.
Yeah, and they have some really good players too.
Emily Ivory and Isabella Gadosh.
Well, another note about this Knock team. Remember, I did a story a while back on North Catholic girls tennis teams really being surprised. They sort of got off to an undefeated start, and they were unbeaten in sexually. They ran up against this Knock team and promptly lost 5-0. That's how strong this Knock team is.
Yeah, and you have to believe too that Greb and Bauer make each other better.
Oh, yeah.
They probably when they aren't playing a match, which seems like they play every day, they're probably playing against each other in practice. So they're making each other better. I think the strength and the depth of this tennis team makes everyone better, and that's why you're seeing the results on the court. All right, that concludes our upon further review for this week. Don't forget to pick up our massive coverage, 6-7 pages of football coverage on Sunday.
It's a feast.
It's a feast.
It is.
It's a feast. It's a football feast. Don't forget to pick that up, and don't forget to follow John, me, and Derek on Facebook and on Twitter. You'll get updates on games that we're at every evening that we're at games, especially Friday nights. So until next week, have a good one.